Number 12, 7 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. Listen online, jocksfm.com. Glad you're with us. College football playoff rankings will be a big part of the discussion today. We had some college football last night. We have more tonight. We'll get into those. Injury concerns for some teams moving forward the rest of the season. We'll have that for you today. Get your thoughts on Auburn maybe becoming bowl eligible. A couple of teams in the SEC still trying to become bowl eligible. What are their chances? What do we think their chances are when we look ahead at the schedule? But that college football playoff rankings last night, round 2, is there drama? Was there drama? We thought there was going to be just a little bit at the top potentially with some change. Indiana struggling at Penn State, Texas A&M looking pretty good on the road against Mizzou. We looked at that and said, okay, possibly some folks think A&M should move up. Then we weighed the schedules yesterday on the show. It didn't look as different as a lot of people maybe believed or wanted it to. And the committee says no. Ohio State stays at 1, Indiana stays at 2, Texas A&M stays at 3, Alabama at 4, Georgia at 5. Not a lot of real shakeup up towards the top. Not too many massive questions or concerns when you go through it. You have to get into the teams, I think, before people maybe have a few issues of exactly what it's going to look like. John, did you have any issue with sort of where these were last night?
Overall, no. You can make a case to have A&M number 1 and Indiana number 1, but I'm not going to really squabble over that. I think nothing was really majorly egregious where I thought, okay, hold on, because I could tell Greg was upset on that broadcast. Yeah, Greg, I know you weren't fully heated, but there were some times that you were, but there wasn't anything that I felt I got really animated over.
Just felt like they overcorrected on a couple things. I mean, like, why, for example, did Miami move up 3 spots when they played against a lackluster Syracuse team? It feels like BYU now kind of dropped. I know they lost, but they dropped to a more appropriate spot. They probably shouldn't have been ranked at 7 last week. There was just nowhere else to put them. Ole Miss's strength of schedule is starting to be used against them, so they tweaked them just a hair. I think just everything, there was a couple tweaks. I'm just a little frustrated because I do feel like there's a moderate level of inconsistency when it comes to evaluating some of these teams. It's like you look at some of these outcomes, and head-to-head is the ultimate indicator, and yet in 2 blatant examples, it's not valued. So you look at Notre Dame and Miami, 5-spot difference there. You look at Miami and Louisville, 5-spot difference there. But everywhere else on the schedule, everywhere else on the entire ranking list, they all are basically operating under the head-to-head world. And that, to me, I don't have a problem with it. I think head-to-head should be the most important thing. But once we move forward, it clearly looks like head-to-head is kind of being thrown out a little bit in some cases.
Where do you think the committee is hanging their hat on Notre Dame as far as wins or impressive moments? It's okay to look at it and say you lose at Miami in the opener, first game of the year. It's close. Okay, A&M comes to town. They get a break late. It's close. You drop that one. That's a top 3 team. I understand that part, but you pointed out the head-to-head. But on the flip side of that, Greg, like where is the strength in the Notre Dame schedule?
Well, I think the committee, based on where Iowa's at, for example, based on where some of these other teams are at, the committee values losing close. Losing close can be used as a feather in the cap, and I'm okay. I can live with that. Like, I think losing close is obviously a heck of a lot better than getting blown out. You know what I mean?
Well, if we're going by the examples you laid out, I mean, Notre Dame's 2 losses are by what, 9 points?
Yeah, combined 9. Combined 4, whatever it was tight. Notre Dame's
6 to
2
SMU
losses.
And 3.
Oh, that's Miami.
Yeah,
you said
Miami.
Notre Dame. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Miami. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they got blown out. I mean,
no. And one of them's in overtime. But if you look at some of the other teams that have lost games, I mean, Notre Dame's 2 losses by a combined 4 points. Oregon, their loss was 10 points. Ole Miss, their loss 8 points, but they had a lead there in the fourth quarter, had a lead going into the fourth quarter and squandered it. Georgia's lost by 3 points. Bama's lost convincing, but they have the head-to-head. I think it's – but here you have the outlier in that faction. You have BYU and Utah. BYU got pummeled last week in a game that wasn't as close as the final score indicated. And Utah, who got absolutely destroyed by the exact same Texas Tech team at home. When a backup quarterback went in the game in the second half, it led them on 4 straight scoring drives. So those are, to me, BYU and Utah are the 2 teams that I'm having the toughest time wrapping my head around. I think the committee has kind of boxed teams in by putting Utah at 13. I don't think Utah has any business being in front of Vanderbilt. I don't think Utah has any business being in front of Miami. I think you can even make a case that Georgia Tech should be in front of Utah, but their strength of schedule sitting at 79, I think, is a bit prohibitive. But I'd put SC in front of Utah. I'm having a hard time understanding why Utah and BYU are where they at. I think that have them a little lower.
It's never going to completely work out. We know that. There's always going to be ands, ifs, buts, ors when you're trying to measure these teams directly against one another. But as you're pointing out, sometimes it feels like there's real clarity as to where a team should be or should not be. And then when you compare those to other teams in very similar situations, when that becomes different, specifically if there's 4 or 5 and only 2 are the ones that are different, you begin to wonder, how is this so? It just feels like the committee just doesn't like Miami. I don't know another way to say it. Like, from an eye test standpoint, game control, whatever metric they're coming up with that's not their own, I don't know. It feels like the committee, whatever they've seen, whatever they have discussed, there's something about Miami that just doesn't sit right with them. I don't think there's another way you can explain it.
I think maybe the coaches on the schedule or coaches on the committee are probably sitting there saying, well, they don't play up to their potential. They're probably a frustrating bunch. I'm sure the coaches on there are like, man, if I had that talent, we'd win all our games. I mean, I'm sure there's something to do with that. I also think the committee just doesn't value the ACC in general. And they put Miami at 15, and while that completely bucks what I think is very important, because if I'm Louisville right now and their fan base, I don't know how loud and chirpy they are, but if I'm Louisville, I'm beside myself. I mean, could you imagine beating the team that's ranked 5 spots in front of you and not really having any justification as to why? I would be really ticked off. So I think Louisville has every right to be mad and frustrated. But what I struggle with, and tell me if you agree, the ACC in general, it's like the committee said, all right, there's a lot of evils here. Which one is the lesser of many evils? Like, who's got the most talent? On their best day, who's got the most talented team? And they say Miami. All right, perfect. Put them in front. Who's second best? Georgia Tech. Sounds good. Put them in front. It's like the committee kind of boxed them all together and basically said, we don't like any of y'all, but we have to put one of y'all in here. So we might as well put the team with the most talent.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd, and almost it felt like where you were going, and this also would have made sense, was they took the ACC and just said our starting point is going to be them down a notch, no matter what.
Right.
Like, so whatever you think about the ACC, move them down 2 or 3 notches, and then we're going to start talking about the other teams. And they're just not going to be. If we have 2 teams with a similar record, 2 teams that we like in the same way, just go ahead and put the other team ahead of them, because our overall perception of that league is that. That part would make a little bit more sense with how you discussed it and how you described it, because of where some of these teams are and how they're ranked right now. I want to get your thoughts, because we didn't have you on the show yesterday, on A&M at 3. There are a lot of folks, we've heard some call, tweet into this show and discuss the schedule. We came up with our new metric. What do we call it, John? I can't recall.
Cube quotient?
The cube quota or something. I don't know. We just basically graded wins, and good wins, great wins, elite wins, gave them 1, 2, 3 points, went across the board with it. Well, when we did that, just to make it as simple as humanly possible, Ohio State came up with a 5, A&M came up with a 5, Indiana came up with a 6.
This is the guys at Red Sun Arsenal came up to this for you?
Actually, this is just me, so don't put too much into this. Alabama actually came up with a 7, but of course they have a loss. So it was interesting that a lot of the folks on the Indiana schedule, and it's really not just our listeners or this part of the country, there are some folks nationally that are wondering if that schedule should allow them to be number 2 or Ohio State 1. The A&M schedule, when you really dive into it, Greg, it's not that much better than either one of theirs in front of them.
No, it's not. But I also look at A&M's schedule, and we look at just the metrics, right? And take the metrics with a grain of salt, because the ones that we have access to are not the exact same ones that the committee is utilizing, but they're close enough to be dangerous, I think. A&M's current strength of schedule is 15, which is pretty good. right? I mean, that's rock solid. Indiana's current strength of schedule is 33. I don't think that's that significant of a difference. I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's 18 spots. That's a lot. That's a decent amount. But I don't think it's that different. And what I appreciated a little bit about what the committee said yesterday is they said, yep, we think A&M's very real. We think they're very good, but they just beat a backup quarterback into submission. Should we give them that much credit for that? To which I say, all right, that's great. Well, why don't we apply the same logic to Utah? And I know you might be saying, oh, well, that doesn't matter. Well, one of Utah's season-defining wins came against Arizona State when they crushed Arizona State without Sam Leavitt. That's their second-best win behind a dominant win against Cincinnati. So I think that when you look at last week's results, if we look at them right now in a phone booth, you look at a dominant win against a top 25 team, and the committee pushes back by saying they were without their quarterback. That win's not as good as you think it is. I'm fine with that. And then on the other side, you look at Indiana. While it's not a quarterback that's in the mix here, they look at Indiana. They went on the road and beat a pretty talented Penn State team, albeit a team that is underachieved, but a talented team nonetheless. They did so without their number one wide receiver and their left guard and left tackle. Let's give them credit for that. That's what I think the committee did. I think they're diving deeper by analyzing not just what happened in the game, but also who is available for which team in the game. And that, I think, is something that is understandable and worthwhile.
Absolutely. Your thoughts on the rankings? Is it something you're even dialed into yet? Something that's concerning you yet? 800-239-9569. You can tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. You can also text into the show, 205-834-9450. Don't get caught in the cold. Schedule your system checkup now from a Train Comfort Specialist. Train has been recognized 11 consecutive years as America's most trusted HVAC brand and our exclusive home comfort partners here at Jocks. Visit train.com to find a comfort specialist near you. All right, some college football last night quickly. Kent State takes down Akron 42-35. They go to 4-6. Akron goes to 4-7. Quarterback Drew DeShields, 17 of 25, 317 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions in a loss last night. Ben Finley goes 32 of 59, 424, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Marcel Williams, 14 catches, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. Maction was lit last night.
Is that the same Ben Finley as that was playing, I want to say, for like NC State a couple years ago?
Yep, I believe so.
Gosh, I haven't heard that name in a minute.
There
was a moment there at Ben Finley I thought was going to be pretty good.
I think a lot of people did. That half of Maction was lit. In the complete opposite Maction last night.
Oh.
Ohio goes down to Western Michigan. Both those teams now 6-4, 17-13. Played in literal quicksand. Parker Navarro, 8 of 19, 70 yards passing.
Ayo.
Now, he did run 18 times for 105 yards. For Western Michigan, Bryce Lowry, 9 of 14, 126 yards passing. So we went from complete fun and gun, air raid, toss it around to 1906 ball in Maction last night. So you had everything possible that you could imagine. Tonight, you'll get Buffalo at Central Michigan, 6 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. And then you'll get Northern Illinois at Massachusetts. How many wins?
Not UMass.
Guess how many wins on the season?
Maction.
That would be correct, John. A 0. 6 p.m. on ESPNU. They are 0-9, looking for win number 1 against 2-7 Northern Illinois. Also, 6 o'clock tonight, ESPN2. You get 5-4 Toledo at 5-4 Miami of Ohio. Don't forget, we have Troy Thursday night against Old Dominion. We've got Clemson Louisville Friday night. You got Minnesota Oregon Friday night. It's a great weeknight football week right here as we are knocking on the door of Thanksgiving. We're now in November. We'll talk about some of the games coming up this weekend around college football. Stay with the college football rankings and more next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 800-239-9569. You want to get in college football playoff rankings. Let us know your thoughts. Is it something you're locked into yet? Concerned about yet? Josh Looney tweets in, other than talking points, think rankings from the committee are a waste until the final week and then conference week. We do get talking points, though. So not a complete waste.
I think you're wrong there. And I'm not trying to like self lift or promote a show that I'm a part of. The committee will clearly teach you who they are over the course of a 3 or 4 week span. And I'm telling you, there are no guarantees right now for Georgia. There are no guarantees right now for Bama. There are no guarantees for a handful of other teams that you would think are in smooth sailing cruise control. In the event in which you lose a game, this committee has shown the willingness to penalize you significantly. And I'm just saying, I think that this committee is made up of a lot of football people, and I think you can draw some conclusions week to week and learn kind of what's going to happen before they happen. So I don't know. I think is some value to kind of keeping up with it right now. Do you agree, Cole?
A little bit, yeah. Just to get an idea. I mean, I think you look at what the committee thinks of certain teams, then you begin to look at the path ahead for some of these teams, and it can give you a little bit of an idea of where we're headed as far as teams being in quickly. If you go back to last year, 7 of the top 8 teams and 8 of the top 12 in last year's second college football playoff rankings went on to reach the playoff. Arizona State was the only eventual playoff team that was unranked in last year's second rankings release. So either Ohio State, Indiana, or Texas A&M will win it all. In each of the last 10 seasons, the eventual national champion was ranked in the top 3 of the second college football playoff rankings release. And since the format began in 2014, only Ohio State, which was number 14 in the second release in 2014, came from outside the top 3 at this point to win it. So per history, majority of the time, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M will win the national championship. If you were to go outside those 3, Greg, which team would you like the most right now to get into this tournament, run through it, and actually win it?
I think Notre Dame could run through it and win it. They currently sit at what, 9?
9, yeah.
I think they could. I think Alabama, Georgia can both win it for sure. I think Oregon could win it. You think Ole Miss could?
I was just about to ask you that. We had that conversation yesterday in reference to Ole Miss and ingredients to win a national championship with Lane Kiffin. I mean, it was thrown out with the Giants. He's actually the betting favorite to be the Giants' next head coach right now, for whatever that's worth. Could they go do it right now? I actually said yes. I said it's heavily dependent on the draw. I think if you looked at a couple of these teams, like Oklahoma, if you gave them a certain draw and they were healthier going into this tournament, I could say, yeah, that's a bad matchup for a couple of teams. They have a quarterback that can get hot, a D-line front seven that can wreck you. It's feasible. Not likely, but feasible. They could go do it. Same thing for an Oregon. But I'll put Ole Miss in that category as well. You know, if they got against a ball control team that had good coverage skills and played well on the back end, had dealt with mobile quarterbacks well multiple times, I'd probably say, yeah, no, I don't like their chances to be able to run through that and to get there. But I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibilities. No, definitely not.
Right. So I think they could. My problem is in the playoff, you're going to run into elite level quarterback play. And I don't know if their secondary is up to the task. And I don't know if their pass rush is going to be good enough to disrupt the opposing team's quarterback on a week in, week out basis. For example, if they played against Alabama, I don't like their chances at all. If they played against Iowa, like them a lot, but Iowa's not in the playoff. They tell me a quarterback that doesn't scare you to an extent in the teams that are right now in the playoff field.
It's fair, but I would like them more against, say, if we're just talking quarterbacks, I would like them more against like a Marcel Reed than I would a Fernando Mendoza.
I don't disagree with that.
I think there are some quarterbacks that are going to be in this playoff that you can get them to throw you the football and take some chances that are unnecessary. And so I think the D-line's coming along a little bit. I think they have – Uman Mielen's been better the last couple of weeks. Perkins, I mean, that was like a hybrid, wing T offense that they played last week. He wasn't going to get real pass rush reps in that game. Played great with what they asked him to do assignment-wise, but you can cut him loose, and he may be able to get there. I think they have a chance to be able to get home because let's be honest, Greg, how many of these offensive lines are just consistently blocking people up for 4 quarters? There's not a ton of them. So, right. I mean, if you have anybody that can provide any sort of pass rush, you're going to be able to get some wins. But it was an interesting conversation yesterday on just kind of where that was. Let's go to Melvin in Birmingham on the playoff. You're on the Higginbotham hotline. Melvin, welcome in.
Appreciate it, guys. I wanted to know, because conference championships have always, carried a lot of weight with me personally. A loss in the conference championship, I mean, is it going to interchange and affect, if you're going to get a bye week versus a first-round matchup?
How are you referencing as far as?
No, I mean, if you have a loss in your conference championship game, ACC, SEC, Big Ten.
Oh, how far are you going to fall?
Yes.
Well, it's yet to be determined, but we haven't seen teams be punished too much by that yet, GMAC. I mean, in the 12 team, we only have 1 year to go back and look at. We have had this conversation of where will the conference championship game losers end up? Like how hard are they going to get hit? Collectively, when we had the conversation that day, most of us didn't think that hard because they go to tier 2, not tier 3, and there still will probably be a gap between tier 2 and tier 3. So unless you somehow barely snuck in and then take a loss in that game, I don't think they're going to get hit that hard, personally.
Nah. If they go out and get blasted, could that have an impact on what people evaluate? I don't know. But here's the thing. Last year, you were playing for a first-round bye because the top 4 teams all had to be conference champions. That's why Boise got a lift. That's why Arizona State got a lift into the quarterfinals automatically. That's not the case this year. So this is the first time we've ever seen this version of the playoff. None of us know how they're going to assess these teams. For example, A&M, Bama, Indiana, Ohio State, those 2 teams play. Are they actually playing for something outside of the possibility of a slightly more manageable first-round game? Or, I guess, second-round game, quarterfinal game? I don't know. I really don't know because, to me, the differences between 1 and 4 from a matchup of either playing 8-9 or 5-12 is not that significant. So the conference championships, while important, might be a lot less important than they once were.
Yeah, we'll go more straight seeding this year, so it'll look a little bit different. Robert in Pelham wants to talk college football. Welcome in, Robert.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to say, to me, number 1 and number 2, their schedule's been so weak. They don't deserve the spots. And then number 2, this is more for Cubelic. How do you feel about trusting Arnold more for the Mercer game? Even though they're 8-1, they can still run through you like Southern Georgia did Alabama in 2011. But do you think he could handle that game just to get him out so we could save that red shirt for Daniels? That's all I have.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me ask you a question real quick. What makes you – he's gone, so he's done. We'll have this conversation on the other side. This whole – I'm not here to prop anybody up, but this whole Indiana and Ohio State schedules are so weak. There's just some falsehood in that. And we'll discuss it next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. You can tweet in at Mac and Cube. Lisa Rawls tweets in at Mac and Cube. It's only been a couple weeks, but it does appear so far the committee's actually putting the type of value on strength of schedule the SEC anticipated when moving to a 9-game conference schedule with a top-tier out-of-conference mandate, ? I'm still not sure the SEC wasn't played. Time will tell. I feel like it's heading that direction, G-Mac. Do you feel like that the schedule strengths overall are being valued more so this year than years past?
Definitely. And I think that's the way it should be. That's why I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Texas. In the event in which Texas loses one of the next 3 games, assuming it's not Arkansas. They lose Arkansas, that's going to be a tough one to wrap your head around. But you have teams that didn't play anybody in the non-conference. Meanwhile, Texas plays Ohio State and loses by 7. Nobody played Ohio State better. We've already seen the committee give credit to teams that have lost close. So, looking at all of that, will they take into account a team that played a quality opponent in the non-conference, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt over a team that maybe didn't do that? Perhaps. Oregon, for example, in the non-con played Oklahoma State. They played Oregon State. Those two teams are a combined 3-16. Not that it's their fault, but pretty nasty non-conference schedule for the Oregon Ducks. So if they lose one more and Texas loses one more, do they lean towards Texas over the Ducks? Probably, based on how things have gone so far and depending on how that loss looks. So we'll see, but I think strength of schedule is very important to this committee, and it should be, because to me, not all schedules are created equal.
You know whose strength of schedule is not important to? College administrators and athletic directors. If you go look at the top 10 in current strength of schedule, you guys tell me what half of these have in common. Number 1, Florida. Number 3, LSU. Number 5, Auburn. Number 7, Arkansas. Number 10, Penn State. Yeah, we don't care about that incredibly difficult schedule. You're fired.
You're fired.
So the old ADs out there not concerned about how difficult your schedule is. Don't win enough of them and you're out. Get used to it. That's where it is.
Plus, didn't some of them set it?
I
mean, not conference, I understand, but weren't they the ones that kind of set the out of conference?
Correct. Yes, I thought you meant the strength of schedule.
Oh no.
I don't think that they set that. I think they agreed upon it, that it could be utilized the way that it is. But no, I don't think that they actually said it. It's here's how we laid it out yesterday, Greg. I tried to make this as elementary as humanly possible when discussing the 3 schedules at the top right now. So we took Indiana, Ohio State, and Illinois, and I just basically said good win, 1 point, great win, 2 points, elite win, 3 points. So for Ohio State, I give them 2 points for Texas, 1 point at Washington, 1 point at Illinois, 1 point for Penn State. Some of these could fluctuate at different points in the season. That's just kind of the reality of it. That's part of it. Ohio State gets a 5. Okay? A&M, we give them a 2 at Notre Dame. Some people might say that needs to be a 3. Yeah, okay, maybe we'll talk about that later. A 1 for at LSU, a 1 at Missouri, and a 1 against Florida. Now, you could maybe say if Florida's a 1, LSU or Missouri need to be a 2. If LSU or Missouri's a 2, Notre Dame needs to be a 3. Whatever. That's just how we kind of went through it. A&M gets a 5. For Indiana, Illinois 1, at Iowa 1, which you could argue that it could even be a 2. We gave them a 3 for at Oregon and a 1 at Penn State. And that gave Indiana a 6. And just for like a reference point for Alabama, a 3 for at Georgia, a 1 against Vandy, a 1 against Mizzou on the road, a 1 against Tennessee, a 1 against LSU. It would give Bama a 7.
Yeah.
So if you think Alabama's schedule is difficult, okay, cool, that's fine, great. They are 1 point ahead of where we would have Indiana. They are 2 points ahead of Ohio State and Texas A&M. So just this whole thing floating around about Ohio State and Indiana ain't played nobody. Their schedules are weak, but A&M's is on this, unreachable pedestal. It's just not real.
You're not pushing. I'm finding pushback from me. But our fans and our listeners, and I love them for it, it's SEC or nothing. I mean, they don't even view. I mean, if you really look at A&M's schedule, you beat Mizzou without their quarterback, and I think Mizzou's a good team. I like Missouri. But you beat them without their quarterback. They're a 6-3 football team, and have lost 2 in a row. Yes, 2 in a row. Your next best win is LSU. How do we feel about LSU? Your next best win is Mississippi State. How do we feel about Mississippi State? Then you have UTSA, Auburn, Florida, and Arkansas. None of those teams are really all that good. Meanwhile, you can look at Indiana's schedule and say what you want. I bet you there's a lot of people in this community that are probably sitting there saying, well, Iowa's not any good. Like, Iowa's not as good as Florida. Well, on paper they are. I'm not saying if Iowa played Florida at full strength, who's got more talent? Florida. But Iowa's a pretty good win. But I don't think our listeners are going to feel that way.
All right, Iowa, Florida, in Atlanta this weekend. Your family's on the line. Who are you taking?
Me?
Yeah.
Is Florida at full strength?
Right now.
No, I'm taking Iowa all day.
That's not even debatable.
That answers that.
Unfortunately, I had the pleasure of watching Florida not give a single rip in the second half against Kentucky in person, but, I take Iowa right now.
Yes. Let's look at Ohio State's schedule. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think Minnesota's very good. I don't think Illinois is very good. Washington, I don't think is very good. But those are 3 Big Ten teams that are all 6-3 or better. You got to acknowledge what they are. How good is Texas? I think a lot of people are still unsold on Texas. They're 7-2. They got to win there. Pretty good schedule.
I mean, you can't debate. I think what we're looking at here is when we go back and we reference certain things about the logo or the brand or the helmet, I think it's where a lot of people are dinging Indiana right now, ultimately, because they're looking at Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. And here's the thing. Neither you, me, John, anybody who votes for any of these polls, none of them know how good those 3 teams really are. Not a single clue how good those teams are. And then with Ohio State, you have Texas on there. Okay, big brand, big name, big logo, big feelings. Grambling in Ohio, probably not going to move the meter a whole lot. Well, Texas A&M, you got UTSA, UTSA State, and Notre Dame. Big brand, big different logos sometimes, big name, big feels. At the end of the day, that's what it is. People are taking a non-con or what the combined non-cons are and saying the schedule's good or bad. And I can't get on board with that. It's not. I mean, how many teams has A&M caught that fired their coach this year? Now, they had Auburn with Freeze. That might be their advantage.
LSU, Auburn, Florida, and Arkansas. A&M has played 4 teams.
And by the way, they'll get Stanford in 2 weeks. So that'll be 5. So not that really matters that much, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's a part of it. So, and it gives you an idea of what the teams are. I just don't think there's this massive differential. I mean, I know people that love this.
What are people? Maybe I don't understand the argument. Are people like angry saying that A&M's schedule's been much tougher than that of Indiana and Ohio State? Is that where they're at? Are they saying Bama's schedule's tougher than A&M's? Like, what is the argument? What are people mad about? Help me understand.
Well, you just heard the caller call in and say it's egregious that A&M is 3 based on Indiana and Ohio State schedules.
I get that. So I think it's purely Big Ten bias versus SEC bias. It's perfectly fine. And I think people are naturally going to think the SEC is better. I don't disagree with you. I think the SEC is the most compelling league. I think it's got the most talent. I think it's the most entertaining league. I don't know if it's necessarily always the most well-coached or the most, like, for example, Iowa, I don't think has as much talent as, say, Florida. But I can promise you what Iowa won't do is beat themselves. I can promise you that. And as a result, every single game gets decided in a phone booth, and they know how to dictate terms of engagement. So
let me just tell you this. If Florida tried to play pullers the way that they played against Kentucky against Iowa, Iowa might score 50. in the second half at least.
Well, at least, I mean, Kentucky did almost score 50. So,
Fair.
I mean, what's the difference between Kentucky and Iowa? Oh, yeah, not much. Perfect. Looking at everything, though, like I think the Big Ten is pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and say the SEC is the best by a mile. I think the SEC is absolutely the deepest at the top. I think the committee's rankings reflect that. But to acknowledge that A&M's schedule is much tougher than Indiana and Ohio State is just completely and flat out untrue. Mississippi State's not a good football team. Auburn's not a good football team. Florida's not a good football team. Arkansas's not a good football team. And LSU's not a good football team. That's 5 teams that they've played in the SEC that are flat out flawed. So, yes, I think Mizzou is good. I think it's a really good win.
Yeah,
and they did so without their quarterback. So, I don't know. I don't think that A&M's schedule is the end-all, be-all by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I'm not putting the Big Ten ahead of the SEC, way ahead of the SEC. I'm not putting the SEC way ahead of the Big Ten. I'm just saying that if these are your 2 reference points, those 2 schedules versus that schedules, it's not that different. I'm not even saying that one is definitively above the other. I'm just saying that the differences are not glaring. That's not what it is. But the difference in how you feel can be glaring if you head over to Game Day Men's Health. If you're feeling on edge, lacking energy, lacking sleep, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com now. Sign up for that free consultation. It's easy. No charge consultation at Game Day Men's Health, including a free testosterone, free PSA test, holistic approach to health and wellness. They're going to go get your vitals, see where your health is, and then present the options and how they can help you. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Open and trustful now. Why not just go sign up? Peptides, weight loss programs. They want to help you be a better you. Locker room environment. You save 10% on any service they offer by mentioning Mac and Cube when you walk in the front door. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. All right, coming up, Matt Stinchcomb at 8 a.m. We'll talk Georgia. He had Auburn over the weekend also, the difference in that Auburn offense that he saw, what the coaches said maybe going in. He'll give us some thoughts there. Brian Haydad talks Mississippi State going up to Mizzou as they try to get bowl eligible. Quarterback situation in flux there for Mississippi State. We'll get his thoughts on that one. More next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Some recruiting notes quickly before we move on at 7:46, Wednesday, November 12th, right here on Jocks. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. 2026 athlete Caden Catchings flips from South Florida to Michigan. 2026 defensive lineman Isaac Chukwara flips from Penn State to Miami.
Ooh.
And 2026 running back Quantravius Fat Boy Wiggins flips from FIU to Wisconsin.
Let's go.
Uh-huh.
Is that the best flip that we've ever heard? Fat Boy going to Wisconsin?
Fat Boy flip.
Fit. Fit flip for Fat Boy. I like it. Wisconsin stepping on the gas. So they're going back to their roots, getting a running back named Fat Boy.
I love that.
It's perfect. All right,
Second coming of Ron Dane.
Hope so. I'm sure they do too. They'd be in pretty good hands. There's a couple different ways to listen to the show. You can go grab the app in your app store, iPhone, Android, download it for free. JocksFM.com. Obviously, you can listen there. You can watch live on YouTube every morning. Search Jocks945 or tell your home smart speaker to just enable the Jock skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. They do an amazing job. All you got to do is just go in, check out the inventory that they have on the lot. You won't find better deals than you'll find on the short drive up to Coleman, I-65, exit 310. You'll be so glad you took the drive up there because of the amount that you could potentially save. Like a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT. It's a 4x4, beautiful truck, beautiful trim. $67,770 is the list price. You can take $15,000 off that sticker, and you can get out the door at just $52,770. It's deals like that that keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. So take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online. Have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
Cultured Guy tweets in, I think people are talking about Bama's schedule, not A&M. Ohio State and Indiana have weak schedules compared to Bama. I wouldn't say weak compared. I mean, we ran the number on Bama, and it was a 3 for the Georgia win, 1 for Vandy, 1 for Mizzou, 1 for Tennessee, and 1 for LSU. You could maybe say the Vandy win should be 2 points. But you could also say maybe you could also say maybe Ohio State at Washington should be 2 points, or you could say the Indiana win at Iowa should be 2 points. All right, but either way, Bama was a 7, Indiana a 6, Ohio State a 5. I think Alabama has a more difficult schedule than those two teams. I would not debate that.
Yes,
but Alabama also lost to Florida State in uncomfortable fashion, and I realized it was the first game. I realized that was a long time ago. I got that. I get it. But that's also a 4-5 football team now. We have to look at it for what it is now. So you have to at least place all of these on the table when you're having the discussion, right?
I think you have to factor everything, and you also need to factor in the fact that Alabama right now is still a work in progress in some areas. I mean, Alabama right now is still trying to figure out how to be a little more effective in the run game. Alabama, I think, is still trying to figure out how to find a little more balance offensively. I think they're still trying to work and find areas where they can improve their pass rush. So I think the committee probably looks at how many close games Bama played, and while there's a killer instinct that I'm sure the committee admires, the level of dominance that you've seen from Ohio State, from Indiana, and frankly from Texas A&M is probably what's giving them a slight heads up. And you'll say, well, Texas A&M didn't have dominance against Arkansas. I understand that. But there's been more consistent levels of performance from Indiana and Ohio State than there has been from Alabama, who will kind of play to the level of the competition from time to time. For example, I think you look at the Missouri game, that game could have been a bigger margin of victory. You look at the LSU game, that game could have been a bigger margin of victory if they would have taken care of short fields. There are a few others, too. I mean, there's a few other games that were probably closer than it needed to be. You know what I mean? So I'm sure the committee's probably looking at that and saying, all right, well, that's something that will hold against them. Still comfortably in the field, still have a first-round bye. But that's probably why the pecking order is what it is right now.
Yeah, it's just kind of what it is, where it is. Okay, we'll give our quick answers here to this one. Jolly tweets into the show. You can text in 205-834-9450. Call in 800-239-9569. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. Jolly says, way too early, head-to-head as of today. 3 versus 4, who wins? So we talked about SEC championship game scenarios yesterday, Greg. We know A&M wins out, they're in. Bama wins out, they're in. Fast forward to Atlanta, that happens. Who do you like in that matchup?
A&M right now.
I would probably take A&M right this second.
Yeah.
But I will
right
say
now.
I will say this. I trust Alabama's quarterback more.
No question. I also think it
Don't
depends
trust
a little
Alabama's
bit.
right tackle situation against those pass rushers.
Yeah, that's the concern is their D-line against the O-line. Can an effective run game keep them out of 3rd and long situations, right? Like, that's important. The other thing I think you'd need to manufacture. I think the coaching staff's a wash, and I don't usually say that. I usually think Alabama's coaching staff is going to have an advantage against just about everybody. But I think some of the moves that Elko's made this year, it'd be very close. I think Elko's done a phenomenal job in-game coaching this season. And I'm telling you, I think Kalen DeBoer is as good as it gets on game day coaching his team and knowing how to finish the game with zeros on the clock with more points than the opposition. It doesn't always look pretty, but he knows how to get to the finish line. And that's a remarkable trait. I think A&M, their coach is right there. So I think the other thing that is very much dependent on how Alabama's defense continues to grow and improve here in these next couple weeks. Because I've seen great growth this year. Do you agree? I mean, I feel like the defense, from where they were week 1, I know week 1 is kind of the outlier performance, but where they were since, I don't know, even week 2, 3, 4, 5, I feel like the defense has grown tremendously over the course of the season. You're no longer seeing those massive runs given up, and or at least you didn't against LSU. I thought the defense played really well against South Carolina. So that's 2 now really good defensive performances in a row. And even the Tennessee game, they were opportunistic. So I'm pretty optimistic about the defense continuing to grow as some of the young guys continue to get more comfortable.
Yeah, it's coming around a little bit. Tyler is in Tuscaloosa, wants to talk college football. Tyler, welcome in.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. Got a quick question for you. Considering where Vandy is ranked, is it as simple if they beat Tennessee, end up 10-2, are they in? Or are there scenarios where a 10-2 Vandy gets left out? Appreciate it.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate that. I personally think they would be in, Greg, but I do think that there are a couple of long shot scenarios you can throw out there where they may be left out. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I can think of a bunch of examples where I think they could be left out in that scenario. So they run the table, win out. Their best win is against potentially a 7-5 Missouri.
Well, maybe the Tennessee win at the end of the year.
Who's 8-4
would be better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good, but maybe not even a top 25 win.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're having the conversation we were having about A&M now. All of a sudden, is that some teams that the perception there is still that they're pretty good, and it's kind of like,
Yes.
So
I think Vandy would be in trouble in that scenario. They are completely at the mercy of what happens around them, in my opinion. Vandy's got 2 losses. They're clearly behind Utah. Utah's schedule is not that dissimilar to Vandy, I might add. I think Vandy's schedule is good, but if you really look at it, I mean, Vandy has been very competitive at times, but it also, you watch the first 3 quarters of the Texas game, it's like, oh boy. So Texas and Oklahoma need to lose at least 1 more for Vandy to slide up there. I think Notre Dame needs to lose 1 for them to slide up there. Because remember, Vandy's sitting at 14, but in all actuality, that's really 16. Because you still have a G5 champ and an ACC champ that's going to slide right in front of them.
Yeah, LSU
Not to
and Missouri are
mention
the only 2
the
teams.
possibility of some other teams.
LSU and Missouri are the only 2 teams above 500 they've defeated.
Yes. Oh, no, dude. Utah State, come on.
5-4, you're right. I can also counter with Georgia State at 1-8.
Yeah, that's bringing them down a bit.
So Charleston
The
Southern.
combined record of Vanderbilt's teams that they've beaten, 422 win percentage.
Not elite.
No.
All right, so we'll continue talking college football playoff. On the other side, though, Matt Stinchcomb on another big matchup for the Georgia Bulldogs this weekend. What he was told by the Auburn coaching staff that would be different about the offense going into last weekend's game. He and Taylor Zarza were on the call for that one. And then what he saw that was different inside of that game. All that and more next right here on Jocks.